Hello and welcome to another one in my series, my 160th series. I'm actually starting what I'm calling a offshoot of my 160th anniversary series here. I'm calling it 160th plus one. Trying to catch up on some of the battles that I did not get to play prior to the actual anniversaries of them. One of them being what you're seeing here. This is uh, the Grand Havoc from Revolution Games. It's the Battle of Perryville, October 8th, 1862. Bringing it to you here right around the 161st anniversary. So that's what I'm calling it, the 160th plus one series. And a couple reasons why I didn't do this one last year. First and foremost, this was still in development at the time of the 160th last year. It was just finishing up. Probably you know if you've been following it. Came out in the late winter, early spring time frame here, and I kind of waited on this because I did like the way it looked. I wanted to get the real components out here and be able to play it that way. So we're doing it for the 161, as well as I had a little bit of time crunch that I really couldn't fit this in last year, but now this year I've got the time. We'll just do 160, 61 to get this play in, because I believe the Battle of Perryville is a key one that's often overlooked, particularly from the standpoint of Kentucky and which way its sentiments would ultimately go for the duration of the war. Perryville really was kind of the culmination of the campaign or campaigns, both north and south, in Kentucky, where we have General Braxton Bragg moving up to try to install a government in the state capital in 1862, and the Union responding with that, reforming, I should say, Buell's army, Don Carlos Buell's army, to to prevent that, to prevent Bragg from doing that, and ultimately send him back down south, or defeat him completely, within there. But within that campaign, it's awful interesting. I'm not going to go into a lot of details of the campaign, but it's awful interesting to study. There's a couple of really good books on it where the game takes its name, the Grand Havoc. Um, that one's a good one, and there's a couple others there that are good. I'll try to highlight them. I don't have them here with me. They're another part of the house at the moment, but I will try to highlight them in future videos here. But those are very good to kind of give you why they converged here at Perryville um, for this battle. So, just to introduce this game, this is very well designed. It's a Revolution Games design. Jeff Grossman, I believe, was a designer on this, doing all the research and everything like that. And he's done a very, very good job. It's a bigger battle. I will say that it's a larger battle. You can kind of see. I'm only showing a portion of this. The map is a very portrait style map, as you can see here. Fits in the standard window of map sizes. Fits on my table very, very nicely. Even though you can't see down here, I'll tip the camera and show you everything here in a little bit. But it does highlight the whole field um, of Perryville that was potential for action on here. And they've done a very good job here too. The maps are beautiful. It's the new style. Um, it's Rick Barber Plus on there, which I think it's very nice. Rick did a very good job on the maps when he was around, and a very good style to this. I think what Edmund has put forward with this by taking it, kind of muting some of the details, I'll call it, has made these a little bit more functional. And if you had, I feel if you've had qualms about the maps before, you may still, not like the style, the whole finger style, like that over there you may not like, but that, that's fine. But definitely the overkill on the details is much better now. We really have a very focused map and very good for games. All the new ones are coming out this way, so definitely a nice map. The coloring, perfect for the time of year. This was an October battle, and in the height of a drought that was happening in the summer fall of 1862 in the middle Kentucky area. So we have these muted browns. Hopefully they're coming through here on the camera, where the darker ones, such as these guys over here and in here, are um, the lower ground, and then moving up to the lighter ones, which is the higher ground over here on here as well. Counters, typical Revolution counters in terms of what they look like for the blind sword system. If you can see that, I can zoom in there, maybe. There we go. So those are very nice here. We've got a lot of them, as I said. There's a lot of them. This was a big battle. These were two armies facing off, and they do include all the armies. This would have been even bigger if Kirby Smith, who was up towards Frankfort, Kentucky, was participating in the battle as well. But this is very big, particularly for the Union side. We're probably seeing roughly maybe 3/4 of the Union units on the board right now. There's a little bit off board over here. I haven't shown you that kind of cut off right about this level. There's probably another 10, 12 units, below there as well. But then there's a whole corps, 2 divisions of Union that are off map that potentially will enter here. Now I'm playing the historical battle. I think the design, they called this the Battle of Perryville, historical battle, or Too Many McCooks, in relation to the number of McCook generals in the battle itself, the fighting McCooks, as they're called. There's a number of them. There's D. McCook here. There's an E. McCook off map at the moment, and then there's Alexander McCook, who was in control of the first corps. That was this up here. That's going to be doing most of the fighting as well. So we've got a lot of units here. It's going to take some time. There's a 14-turn game. I'm going to try to, for my style of play, I'm going to try to do it like I've been doing it before. I'm going to do a lot of the admin stuff off camera. I find that generally tedious to actually do, never mind watch, as part of the game. So a lot of things like seating the cup over here. This guy over here, I'm going to do off camera, and then I'm hopeful that I will get into some of the actual action of the moving the counters, battling, seeing what happens with each activation over there. As I said, there's going to be a number, just to start off with, I'm looking at here, there's a number of, there'll be a number of activations that we have between regular chits, which will be the regular, chits, Union and Confederate chits. Each got 4, so there's 8 chits right there. Plus, there's another 4 Union and 3 Confederates, so there's 11 plus the 2 neutral ones, 13 chits, overall. That will be they'll be drawn, and then of course we have multiples of them too. So for the first corps, McCook's corps, we'll have a total of 3 brigades, or a total of 5 brigades, excuse me. 5 brigades plus an independent brigade that will potentially, activate across there. So it winds up being around 15 or 16 chit pulls, for a turn, and then of course going through the action and things like that. So that can, I found that can take quite a long time for one turn. So I will try to bring you in on some of the action, some of the lesser action, like maybe the beginning here when we're just positioning. I may do some, and then when we get into the battles, I may roll off camera, bring it back, and then if we get some critical ones, like if we get some action up here at Starkweather Hill, where is it, right here, or these hills up here, which are key to the battle, or down here by the bottoms land. I don't want to say bottom land, but the bottoms, Widow Bottom, Squire Bottom, and Sam Bottom. Those were all prominent people that had land farms in the line of battle over in here. I may bring you back for focused in on that as well. So yeah, that'd be my typical style here. Victory conditions. It's going to be pretty much points. You can kind of see here, right there at Squire Bottom's place. There is a star with a, let me actually zoom in on it, might be easier for you to see. There's a star with a red and blue half section to each of it. That will be a victory hex. That's a victory hex per turn. So there'll be points, 1 point for each occupation of that turn. Then there's ones that are just plain blue, plain red. Those are victory hexes for the end of the game on there as well. And there's a couple others that do have a little bit more conditions to them, which if it does occur, I'll highlight there as well. Also for losses, anything with a cohesion greater than or equal to 2 will score a point if it's on the broken track or eliminated at the end of the game there as well. But the main thing is Confederates are trying to drive as hard as they can into the Union, score a lot of damage without inflicting damage. The Union themselves, same type of thing, but they're initially going to be in a situation where they need to kind of hold on to the ground that they have and kind of take the Confederate attack, because mainly it's going to start up in this area. The Confederates here to the north are going to be pressing in. The Confederates down here that you see in the south, a couple of them are on hold here, for guarding Perryville and the line of retreat for Bragg heading back to Harrodsburg and his main supply base back at Camp Robinson. So that's going to be kind of the main thrust for it. The real tricky part is the Buell alert piece of it, because all of these units down here, which let me tilt you down so you can actually see all those Union units. See, look at all those Union units just sitting right there. You can see, if they were able to commit right off, this would be a tough battle for the Confederates. But all of these units down here are held. This is actually the third corps down here, and the third corps made up of 3 divisions: Mitchell, Sheridan, and Schaff down here. We're all kind of just being held for the attack on Perryville, because originally Buell was going to be on the attack, and he was actually going to attack and defeat the units that were in Perryville, which at that point I believe it was just Polk's wing, which was Cheatham over here holding this out. And then he was reinforced by Hardee's troops, that was both Anderson and Buckner's brigades, after Bragg reorganized his army again, and also he was looking to actually reorganize and bring in Kirby Smith, who I talked briefly about before. He was looking to actually bring him in there before, but a strategic victory of sorts for the Union was the fact that as Buell started making his way down in this direction, his 3 corps moved in this direction. He also sent 2 divisions out from Louisville straight towards Frankfort. And Bragg got word of this, and it froze Bragg. That was probably the best thing that Buell did in this battle. It froze Bragg and thought the main effort was going to be the attack on Frankfurt. Because Bragg was up there, he was trying to install a government. He had captured Frankfurt and put it in Confederate hands, and he was about to install, in fact, he did install a governor, and then ran down here and had a battle. Meanwhile, Frankfurt, Kentucky, was a little bit nervous because now they've got this Confederate capital, but nobody to defend them from potential Union attack. Now those two divisions, pinned them down, and ultimately Kirby Smith, the other core, essentially core for the Confederate Army, had to stay up there and kind of provide a blocking force. So again, tactical victory. We had two divisions holding off a Confederate corps, roughly equal terms, but it kept them out of the battle and left the main Union force facing a much smaller Confederate force. And that's ultimately one of the things that hurt Bragg in his attack here. His attack historically was very successful, being able to attack this, mainly because of some failures that Buell did over here of not committing these troops right away. Was able to rack up a substantial victory against the First Corps with the units that you see in front of him here. Roughly, you have from the top Manny all the way down to Johnson here. All of these brigades and divisions within here were able to concentrate right on this corps. Over here we have basically three brigades, roughly a division, maybe division plus, just defending Perryville against a whole corps over here. So in that sense, Bragg was able to get position upon Buell's lines and have a much larger force attacking his smaller force, even with reinforcements just across the way for the battle. So we're going to see how this plays out. We're going to see if we can do it again with Bragg. Can he, pretty much wreck the First Corps and send them packing, or will the First Corps stand this time and provide more of an obstacle to it? Will Buell be able to release or recognize the battle is going on to his north and send reinforcements up there, or at least threaten Perryville so that Bragg has to think twice and start reinforcing the Perryville defenses back over here? So it should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to this. I visited the field many times. It's a beautiful field. It's very pristine, I guess is the word I want to put with it. And the state of Kentucky has done a good job at maintaining that and keeping its look to where it was. Because you can go out here today on the preserved part of the battlefield, which is roughly this area up here, all the way around from Squire Bottom up to the crossroads, back to the north, roughly past Starkweather's Hill, and back around over here. All this has been preserved. All this over towards the Chaplain Creek or river is all nature preserve here as well, so that's all preserved in its form here as well. There's very few development. In fact, they've reclaimed some development that started over here as well. There's a bit more development down here to the south towards Perryville, which is kind of natural progression of time, but again, still very well preserved, still very much an agricultural area, and hopefully it can stay that way. So if you do go there, just hopefully you can see that this is a very pristine place. Hopefully it can stay that way. As long as it can. It can't be overrun like some others have been. So see, anything else I want to add to my introduction here? Back to the game here. A couple things that are really nice. There is a bit of special rules to this, which I've been kind of acquainting myself to, particularly around the activations of these units here and these units over here. They'll pretty much stay that way. I won't be playing with the night rule. I figured 14 turns is going to be enough. Having it go 3 more turns into the night is probably going to be a bit too long for me. Let's see, I've outlined the victory conditions. The event chits I'll highlight as we go through them on there as well. And I've highlighted the victory conditions, basically the hexes, these hexes here, here, and various other points there as well. There is a sudden death if either player hold 3 end of turn objectives plus 2 of their end of battle objectives during the victory point awards phase. At the end of the turn, the player is awarded a smashing victory. So they basically won a smashing victory. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. I don't know what else. Everything else looks pretty good. You've done a very good job on this. I kind of saw a preview of this last fall, so I knew they did put a lot of work and effort into it. So I'm really looking forward to this. A couple of new things. I really like this. I'll just highlight this if you haven't seen this already. There's 2 new marker chits, which I'm like, yay. That's the front, that's the back. I'm just holding 2 of them up here so you can see them both at the same time and not with the glare. So you have this artillery fired, which we can place on an artillery unit right there when it's fired, so we know it's fired, so you don't have to write it down or put other markers on there. That's nice. And then there's a no rebuild option, and this is for the optional rule if a unit is put onto the broken track. Obviously it's going to be like this on the broken track. If it's on the broken track and it comes back in, say it recovers, you can put this on here or underneath it to say don't rebuild it, because it can't be rebuilt back to the full strength because it was on the track. I will be playing with that rule, so I do like these extra counters that they've added in for that. So that's kind of cool. There's also a couple of activation displays over here, and I can try to show you that if you just bear with me for a moment. I'll activate this camera, and actually, no, we won't, sorry, I won't activate this one. There we go. And if I pull everything around here and make everybody seasick, there we go. There we go. So there's a couple of things here, a couple of new things here. This is very nice, this brigade activation display for both sides, which basically just gives a tracking card, a setup card for what brigades will belong to what units. Because probably people are, unless you've crazy like I am and read all about these battles and stuff, probably not familiar with the table of organization in terms of how Bragg had this set up. So this gives a nice layout to this. Some of these names you may recognize on the Confederate and Union side because they show up later in other games or other battles, particularly Chickamauga and beyond. So you see people like Claiborne, Liddell, who's the other one here? Stewart, Smith, Powell. Those all wind up in other games too. Also, Stones River, which I know Revolution is working on right now. So wouldn't be surprised if they show up again. Same thing for the Union down here. There's a Union card over here, and I apologize for the glare. Let's turn that up there. There we go. So you get people like Van Cleve, you got Rousseau, you've got Jackson, Wood, Sheridan, Mitchell, so forth and so on. These are all generals who will continue to serve out through either the Western or Eastern campaign in the case of Sheridan. So you do see these people coming up later. As I said, Stones River, Chickamauga, even Chattanooga. These names are there as well. But these cards are really nice. And then we have a Buell alert track, which I'll kind of show you as that goes on there as well. So there's quite a bit, that they've added to this, which I think it really enhances or makes it easier for the for you to play on here as well. So with that, I think we tip this up a little bit, and just looking at this, I may adjust the camera a little bit because most of the battle is going to be up in this area a bit. So we may shift you north here and leave the southern units here open for our first turn and kind of go from there. So with that said, I think that's enough for my intro for now. Be back with turn one once I get the cup all set up, and look forward to going through 14 turns of this. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in a bit. Okay, back with turn one. Now with turn one here, because I had a few questions on this, I played this out completely without filming it, and I'm just going to give a recap on here. Just had a few questions, namely on artillery and stone walls, and a few others that I had to do a little bit of research on. So I didn't want to bore you with that. Plus, this first turn was a lot of just maneuvering, not a lot of combat in here. But I'll give you the highlights on here, and you can see for yourself. So a lot of maneuvering. To start off here, we had some Union event chits that came up, and some of them were held, some of them couldn't really be used. They did come up with a rally, which was actually pretty good for them because they were able to rally this guy right here, the 42nd Indiana, he was originally here. But he moved back up in here to take the Squire Bottom victory hex. And he was able to rally, which was good. And then we finally got to some activations where we had Jackson's units, which were his two brigades are Terrell and Webster. And they're up here. Webster is over here. Actually, I should take this off. And these off over here. Those are my markers, just the artillery. Webster is over here. Fortunately, he didn't activate. Didn't roll high enough with that. Same with Terrell. And Terrell is basically here and up here holding the knob. This little point of land here, the open knob, which is an interesting battlefield feature. If you ever get out there, there's a lot of trail. There's a good trail that comes up over here and goes down to the road and over to Starkweather Hill. But anyways, Terrell could not activate as well, and not much happened with him over there. I should back up 1 second too. I forgot about the artillery. A little bit of artillery back and forth. Really not much. We did have one unit here that did deplete. They'll probably rally the next turn over there as well. So Jackson went. Then the Confederates used a little bit more skilled artillery to move up their artillery from here from here up to here. To get them in position for Manny's attack, which you can see developed later in the turn with Terrell out of action. Manny up here, and let's just zoom in on that so you can see that. Manny was able to maneuver with a couple of things. First off, his own activation was interrupted by command confusion by the Union, and went from a maneuver to an attack. Didn't really hold him up too much because the 41st Georgia, 1st Tennessee were moving down this, or excuse me, 27 Tennessee and 41st Georgia were moving down that way. And what really held it up was the 9th Tennessee and the 1st Tennessee over here, because they were stuck in the woods and kind of were slow to get up there. But they also received the benefit of the aggressive leadership, which allowed another attack, which they were able to then subsequently attack the 123rd Illinois up here was part of Terrell. Now 123rd Illinois, I should say, these guys right here, not a really, there we go, powerful unit. Not going to be able to see it without something behind it, is it? There we go. Not a very powerful unit in terms of numbers, but the quality was very low. You can see it's only got a 1 for cohesion. And it had actually been, I forgot, it had been reduced as part of the artillery attack. So consequently, Manny was able to get over here with the 41st Georgia and the 27th Tennessee and attack them over here and basically wipe them out. Now it's a little tough because he's going with 27 Tennessee. They came up. It's going to be a little bit tough because next turn Terrell's artillery here, Parsons, is going to be able to take a canister shot at them over there. So that'll be interesting, and I'll probably bring you on for that one. With other things, it was just maneuvering. You can see Stewart crossed the Chaplin River. Donaldson was able to move across the river, or move up to the river, and then maneuver those units that were across the river over there as well. And oops, there we go. And try to get his artillery moving over here. It's a little tough for artillery with these woods and dry creek bed of the Doctor's Creek there. Into the center here, we have more of Anderson's units. We can see here that will be Brown, Jones, and Brown and Jones over here. They kind of pushed back some of these skirmishers here and here, and starting to cross the Doctor's Creek to move up there as well. Wood and Liddell over here, part of Buckner's, I believe it's Buckner's, Buckner's units. They were not able to move this turn. They got high rolls on their activation. But Johnson, and actually let me zoom out now because I'm out of the range there. There we go. So you can see there's Wood and Liddell over there. But we have Johnson, and also just below here, if I tip you down a little bit, there we go. And apologize for the glare. Move that up a little bit. We have Johnson and Claiborne moving up to attack over here, looking to go after Squire Bottom's Victory Hex over here. And then to the south, we have pretty much no activity. These were all the held units between Smith, Powell, and the rest of the Unions didn't move at all. On the Union side over here, we did have a little bit of movement. Lyell kind of consolidated their defenses here around Squire Bottom. There's some good stone walls here, which hopefully will be protection for them. The skirmishers have fallen back because of Jones's advance over here. Harris kind of went out on a limb with Liddell down here. Harris moved up to this little ridge just to the east of their initial position in the cornfield over here. That gives them a little bit better defensive position because there's quite the rise in here for them to go up, as well as over here for Jones to get up, or Stewart, who's coming around here as well. So that may give them a little bit more defensive position. Remains to be seen. It's a little bit exposed, but Starkweather also came up to these stonewall positions A little bit better defensive position. So there's a good line going north to south or south to north, whichever way you want, over here. I'm afraid with Terrell's advanced units out here on the open knob, they're going to have to retreat or get lost. This is going to be interesting. I don't know if they're going to take the shot. It's tempting because it's going to be a 12 firepower at close range. But if they miss, or even if they don't miss, if they get a hit and they drive them back, there's still 3 other regiments ready to pounce on them again. So there's a good chance that they would lose the guns. So they may have to retreat rather than try to attack. But it's a tricky situation here because they would need to go back this way towards Starkweather's defensive positions, and it's really just kind of an ugly set of fields over here to go through. They've got to go through cornfield, they've got to go over a fence, and then another stone wall. So I'm likely to get stuck somewhere over in here, which is not a great position, but they would still be supported by Starkweather and presumably what's left of the 101st Ohio up here after Manny attacks. So it remains to be seen. We will try to sort things out here with the rest of Terrell's units. Back here, oops, got you tilted off and you didn't see what I was pointing to again. Got to remember to tip that back up. It's a long map, and I apologize. The camera with this just can't get it. And I wanted to position it this way because I wanted to be able to read the names. I didn't like with other videos that I had to do where it had it turned or twisted and you couldn't read the names and it was hard to see. So I've done this, as I said before, portrait-wise to try to be able to see this as best as possible. So we'll try to sort things out with Trell. Starkweather's in a good position. We do have support units from Webster here that we can try to move up here as well, which may be able to hold Starkweather's Hill and the line like this. But there's an awful lot of brigades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 potential brigades against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some cavalry until the Union is released over there. What else came out of this? That's really kind of the highlights. We did have the McCook Chit, that's this one here, come out. He's the CIC for the 1st Corps. It's Alexander McCook. We used him to try to get Buell aware of the battle, and that was successful, and Buell moved from being unaware to here's the artillery. It doesn't allow any units to release yet, but it moves us one step closer. The next one will be Buell hears reports of fighting, which hopefully we can get to the next turn, and then maybe the turn after that Buell commits. We'll have to see how that goes over there. So that's a bit of turn 1. As I said, a lot of maneuvering, not much battling, so that's why I didn't get you on. I wanted to just get myself clear on a few items. As I said, the next turn I think we'll bring you on and get you right into the battle, because we've got some interesting decisions up here. Should Parsons take the shot or fall back? We'll probably have more discussion on that next turn as well, depending on how it goes. So anyways, hopefully you're enjoying these the videos, these intro and the first turn. Stay tuned for the second turn. And once again, if you like this, please like it. Hit that like button. Send a comment. Subscribe. Always like new subscribers. And yeah, we'll see you on the next turn. Thanks for watching.